All right, folks. Good evening and welcome into our virtual annual meeting. If you do not know me, my name is Dave Kurtz, and I am the Assistant Director of Hockey Operations for the ACHA. And probably to my left or to your right, one of the two, is Craig Barnett, Executive Director of the ACHA. So we're going to go through just a little bit of housekeeping here at the beginning of the meeting, and then we will jump right into the reports from both of us. The first thing is that, so this is going to be kind of a simple night in terms of what's going to go on. Craig is going to give his executive director report. Then I'm going to give my hockey operations report. And then in our last segment, we'll have a Q&A session. If you guys look at the bottom of your screen, or should be at the bottom, might be at the top, depending on how you set up your Zoom, there is a Q&A button. And if you click on that, you can ask questions. Just to let you know, the Q&A for all the questions is going to be at the end. So feel free to put questions in. You can send them to us at any time, but know that they're not going to be answered until both reports are done. So don't think that because you send it like in the first 5 minutes of Craig's report and he doesn't say anything about it, that we're ignoring you, but we're just going to hold it all till the end. And then allow us to be able to quickly go through those. Just a couple things for you guys to know in terms of questions. This is the national meeting, so we're kind of looking at the overall ACHA. So if you guys submit questions that are going to be about your division, maybe questions that about like your format or your dues or anything like that, that it's specifically are about your division, we're going to say that needs to go over to the divisional meeting. So I'll just type in there, say, hey, that you need to contact your commissioner to discuss that in your divisional meeting. The other thing is any financial questions for the most part. At the end of this month, we will be having another one of these webinars that will be have Jim Martin, our treasurer, and that meeting will be specifically dealing with the budget and the finances of the ACHA, similar to if you've been to Naples, Jim's report, and then answering any questions that you guys may have. So just so you know, if you ask a question, there might be a few things that either Craig or myself bring up. If we bring that up, then yes, then that aspect of any sort of financial thing, feel free to ask a question about. But if it's about the general operating budget, expenses, income as a whole, we're just gonna say, hey, that come back in a couple weeks for that webinar, and then we'll just focus on that. Any anonymous questions, we're just going to reject. You got a question, put a name on it. If you, just if it comes back and it says anonymous, we're not going to answer it because that just doesn't really serve any purpose. And the last one is, if I see any repeated questions, obviously I'll make sure that the question is answered. But if somebody asks a question of Craig to answer something, and then 5 minutes later, another person asks the exact same question, we're not going to rehash over and over again. I will, and lastly, this is being recorded. So after this will be done, it will be downloaded and then just chopped, into getting rid of like the dead spots before and after. And then we will post it up on the website. So if you need to go back and check some information, or if you heard something, forgot it, or you had other questions, you can watch it. If you know another coach or GM or someone affiliated with ACHA who couldn't be here tonight, then you can let them know. And we should have that hopefully I'm going to say hopefully within, if not tomorrow, certainly by Tuesday, it should be up. So that's it for the opening part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Craig, and then I'm going to jump off just from visual and pull up his report. So it should all be up on the screen for you guys to follow.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Just want to make sure you can hear me. Dave, if you can hear me, that would be, can you acknowledge that?
I can hear you, Craig.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. And you said you were going to put the report up on the screen, and here it comes. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. I'm excited to be given our end of year report. For those of you that I have not met at this point, my name, as Dave said, is Craig Barnett. I'm the executive director. And I wish we were all down in Naples right now, given this presentation. But I'm up in Erie, Pennsylvania, where it is not snowing today. So it's a good day here. But I'm grateful for everybody to join us here on this report, and just want to share a few things regarding this year. So obviously, what a year it was. Typically you approach each new season with goals, to enhance and improve your association, your organization, your team. This year, as we all know, was quite different. I feel like this year the goal for us was to survive and then possibly play. And planning for a pandemic was certainly unknown territory for most of us. A lot of us, including everybody on this call right now, as coaches and team administrators and presidents, we basically just rolled up our sleeves and do the best we can. Well, trying to keep you and your family safe during these times. Sometimes you got to tune out a lot of the noise going on around us during the the very dark days of this pandemic, and we're certainly not through it yet. But we see light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully, and things seem to be opening up, and that's great. But it was a trying year for all of us. There's no doubt about it. But you know what? In the end, we were able to play, and we were able to compete, and we were able to have a postseason for 4 out of our 5 divisions. We certainly recognize, though, that the teams that were able to compete and able to play, it was the minority of our association. And I think it's very important, not to forget, the majority of our association that was unable to hop on the ice this year. All the planning and work and training that our student athletes did and coaches did, for the majority of our membership, was not able to be on the ice to compete. But for those that were able to, that were permitted by their colleges to compete, we were able to provide some type of experiences for our student athletes, and certainly, I think that's some type of success. So, thank you for all the hard work that everybody did regarding this, and I really appreciate the patience, throughout the season as we adjusted, almost week to week with what we were dealing with the pandemic. Certainly to colleges, I'd like to acknowledge the colleges. If there's any sports administrators on this, it's really up to the colleges how they handle, the pandemic situation for their students. It's their students, our student athletes, but certainly their students, and they had the best interest in keeping them safe and putting them in a position to be academically successful. And as we know, colleges all do it differently, but certainly a lot of sports administrators work with our coaches and team reps and with the ACHA staff to find a solution for their student athletes. And I thought that was a great team effort on everybody's part. As I said, I'm deeply grateful to our staff, our commissioners, Brian, John, Derek, Molly, Taylor, Dave Kurtz, our hockey ops, Chris Perry doing communications, certainly our board of directors, everybody, that was assisting our staff, did a fantastic job throughout the year. Our coaches, all 470 plus coaches, you all dealt with different things again throughout the season. And, I'm deeply grateful for everything that you had to do. And certainly for our student athletes, again, and I'll repeat this probably throughout my report, but how resilient are our student athletes? A lot of teams that the student athletes are the team president, they are the treasurer of the team. They're trying to find ice time. They're trying to figure out if they can practice, if they can get on the ice. They're making sure that all the paperwork is in with the ACHA. They're paying their dues. No, not only that, but they're also going to school. And they had to balance their academic calendar, to be the most important thing, a student first. And it was difficult. It was difficult. A lot of schools obviously were virtual. most of the season, if not all the season. And to go through college academics virtually is not an easy task for everybody. So again, I'm not telling you anything nobody's heard or has acknowledged before, but I really feel like our student athletes need to be, tip our hats off to them for their resilience this year. Moving forward here, I'd like just to kind of start with the finish of our season and congratulate our national champions. Just going through if Dave, I think, can control my slide here. Just want to acknowledge the success that they had. For those that were able to compete this year and go to the national tournaments for their division. Congratulations goes out to Adrian College, men's Division I, and Coach Gary, winning their national championships in St. Louis. For men's Division II, congratulations goes out to the University of Mary Marauders and head coach Dan Huntley on a terrific season they had, and being host as well. For men's Division III, I'd like to congratulate Hope College and head coach Chris Van Timmeren on your success this year. Teams all started at different times throughout the season, but a lot of them were able to finish here, and I think Hope College was really sweating it out down the stretch, and great perseverance there as well. And then women's Division I, I'd like to congratulate head coach Chris Lowe's and the Liberty University Flames on capturing yet another national championship. So all the teams that competed, that were able to qualify and attend the national tournament, they were great games, and hopefully the student athletes and the coaches had a great experience. Sticking with the tournaments, with the national championships, I'm just going to go through the all tournament team awards. We can just acknowledge them as a whole, but this was a difficult season for all of us. And I'm going to quickly go through this and just acknowledge the players. The coaches that are on this, that have players represented, I think deserve their student athletes to be named. And I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to apologize up front. I practiced this about 5 times. I think I had the names pronounced correctly, but I was a goalie, so I may apologize here and have some mispronunciations. But all tournament team awards, I think if you just go back, Dave, there you go. Thank you. All tournament team awards, men's Division I, the all tournament first team for forwards, Drew Carter from Minot State, Austin Kuhn from Adrian College, and Emmanuel Silvero from Adrian College. Defense was Daniel Stone from Adrian College, Paul O'Connor from Minot State, and goaltender Chad Durand from Minot State. Those were the all-tournament first team for men's Division I. All-tournament second team was Quinn Ryan from Liberty University, Philip Schultz from Indiana Tech, Blake Fournier from Minot State, and Vitaly Novitsky from Liberty University. Vitaly's a defenseman, I apologize. The second defenseman on the second team is Alex Potter from Indiana Tech, and goalie Bryson Lindenberg from Indiana Tech. The most valuable player of the all tournament for men's Division I was from Adrian College, Michael Barrett. So congratulations to the men's Division I all tournament teams. A tremendous accomplishment there. Men's Division II, all tournament first team, forwards, Blake Flanders from Liberty University, Seth Cushing from University of Mary, Marco Escobar from Iowa State University. First team defense were Ian Precht from Lindenwood University and Johnny Witzke from University of Mary. Goaltender Kyle Hayden from University of Mary. Second team for men's Division II, all tournament team, forwards were Chris Solomon from North Carolina State University, Josh Lynn from Lindenwood University, Cameron Maycock from Williston State College. On defense, Dan Duncan from Iowa State University and Philip Parisian from Dakota College. Goaltender was Devin Nadow from Iowa State University. Our men's Division II all-tournament most valuable player was Kyle Hayden from University of Mary. Congratulations to all those recipients. Men's Division III, Our all-tournament first team was Kevin Healy from Hope College, Bradley Basor from Hope College, Chris Solomon from University of Arkansas. Defense was Cam McAtee from University of Arkansas, Graham Sudduth from Missouri State University, and first team goalie was Joseph Desenka from University of Arkansas. Our men's Division III second team was Brandon Nelson from Central Michigan University, Danny Collin from University of Michigan, Grant Sugusera from University of Michigan. On defense, Sam Terrell from University of Michigan, Logan Faustine from Hope College, and goalie Lucas Schutt from Hope College. Our men's Division III all-tournament most valuable player was Jack Adams from Hope College. Congratulations to those student athletes. Women's Division I all-tournament first team forward was Yannick Truder from Liberty University, Valeria Manchak from Liberty University, Marissa Delry from Lindenwood University. On defense, Katie Stelling from Midland University, Mackenzie Heidi from Minot State University, and goalie Emily McDonald from Lindenwood University. Second team includes the forwards Alicia Williams from Midland University, Leah Williams from Adrian College, Haley Wickham from Minot State University, defense Sally Hoare from Liberty University, Lindsay Gillis from Lindenwood University. Sally is from Liberty University. Lindsay is from Lindenwood University. Goalie Naomi Liesk from McKendree University. Our most valuable player for Women's Division I was Yannick Truder from Liberty University. Again, I appreciate your patience as we read through those, but I think those student athletes deserve to have their names revealed to this membership. Moving forward with season awards, Men's Division I, they will be announcing their season awards at their breakout session, which would be this coming Friday. So once Men's Division I student athletes are recognized for their season awards, we will have that in a press release and on the website. For Men's Division II, I'd like to congratulate our Player of the Year, three-time captain of University of Mary, Zach Garrett. And I would also like to congratulate our back-to-back winner for Coach of the Year from University of Mary, Dan Huntley. Our All-Americans, we have some slides that are going up here. Our Division II All-American first team, forward Zach Garrett from University of Mary, Trenton Sherman, Concordia University, Blake Flanders from Liberty. On defense, Johnny Witzke from University of Mary, Chris Solomon from North Carolina State University, and Dakota Chinook from Liberty. Our second team forwards were Braden Thomas, University of Jamestown, Michael Schrader from Lindenwood, Ryan Gruska from East Texas Baptist University. Defense was Levy Anderson from Providence and Casey Kallick from University of Minnesota Crookston. Goalie Kyle Hayden. Congratulations to our Division II All-Americans first and second team. Men's Division III, I'd like to congratulate our Player of the Year from Dallas Baptist University, senior captain Spence Cohen. I'd like also to congratulate now a four-time winner of the Coach of the Year for Men's Division III from Hope College, Chris Van Timmeren. Our All-American first team forwards, Brad Basor from Hope, Danny Colin from University of Michigan, Spence Cohen from Dallas Baptist. On defense, Cameron McAtee from University of Arkansas and Nick Gowell from University of Michigan. The goalie first team is Dylan Zelko from Adrian College. Our second team for Men's Division III forwards, Brendan Nelson, Central Michigan University, Dominic Maloney from Adrian, Jacob Holmstrom from Missouri State. On defense, Ashton Bowl from Hope, Graham Sudduth from Missouri State, and goalie Joseph Dusenka from University of Arkansas. Congratulations to our Men's Division III All-Americans on a great season. Women's Division I, I'd like to congratulate our third year in a row national champion, Coach of the Year, Chris Lowe's from Liberty University. followed by our Player of the Year, as you may know, is the award is called the Zoe Harris Player of the Year Award from Liberty University, defenseman Dana McLeod. Our All-American first team are forwards Dakota Alpine from Lindenwood, Yannick Truder from Liberty, Leah Williams from Adrian, defense Dana McLeod from Liberty, Lindsay Gillis from Lindenwood, and goalie Naomi Liesk from McKendree. Second team All-American for Women's Division I, forwards Marissa Delray from Lindenwood, Vanessa DeMarchant from Liberty, Cameron Scully from McKendree. On defense, Mackenzie Haiti from Minot State, Katie Stellan from Midland University, and goalie Emily McDonald from Lindenwood. So again, congratulations to all of our All-Americans. And I appreciate the time to recognize these student athletes during our end of the year meeting. I'd like to talk a little bit about the effects of the pandemic and a lot what we dealt with throughout this year to bring everybody up to speed. First with how the pandemic affected, the ACHA and our members and certainly our operations and staff. It started with the registration piece. Obviously, we wanted to be as flexible as possible during the registration when we opened up last June or July. We extended the registration time period. We were as patient as we possibly could be, to have teams understand what's going on in their campus and to figure out if they were going to be permitted to compete or even just to get on the ice. One of the other things we did this year too, which I know was confused some people because it was different. But we wanted to be creative and provide flexibility and options for our membership as we kind of split the annual dues into bits and pieces. Instead of teams having to pay full dues right away, there's a lot of teams that just did not know what was going to happen. For example, teams that might have been permitted to skate but not compete, we had a different payment type for those teams, and then they could wait to figure out if they were going to be able to play, and then they would add another payment to that to be active members. So we really looked at the registration piece. The other part of the registration piece, which is important for us, and it definitely affects one of the biggest things I always try to do, as our staff does, is the communication piece. The ACHA has a lot of turnover with coaches and team reps. And really the only way for us to capture who is really in charge year to year is through the registration. So we had a lot of teams this year that didn't register because they weren't permitted to play. We certainly weren't 100% compliant with our registration in terms of membership register. And therefore, our contact list this year wasn't 100% accurate either. Again, we've always relied on that registration piece to compile the most updated contact list that we could have. So I know that some people continue to get emails that are not associated with membership. And we had some people that took over roles after they registered that reached out to us so we could add you to the contact list. But again, pandemic provided some, changes, and we always tried to find the best practices moving forward. With that in mind, in terms of registration, and we'll talk a little bit more about this on one of the other slides coming up, is the financial piece. We certainly rely on our annual dues coming in for the ACHA to operate. And we certainly knew that we would not be at full capacity this year. So, we were operating on a very, small shoestring budget, as a lot of businesses were this year. It's not just the ACHA. We understand we're one of many, and, but for us on this call tonight, this is what it was about, was operating throughout the season here. So our financials, as you may, not be surprised, we're very, trying, and, we operated as such, including, the board making a difficult decision early on once we saw how the fall semester was playing out in terms of membership, where, most of our staff was furloughed. And, And as you probably know, if you followed the ACHA through the season and you were active, you would not know that, because our staff did an outstanding job continuing the work, knowing they're not going to get their little stipend to be part of this. But, it really showed from my perspective that the love that they have and the passion they have for the ACHA, as our membership does too. So financially, just like many businesses and associations this year, it was a trying year financially, and it's going to take some time to get back on track to where we once were. Speaking of tracking, certainly we spent a lot of time tracking what our schools were doing throughout the season. As you can appreciate, with 470 plus schools across 48 states and in a couple Canadian provinces, every region, every state, other different municipalities had different type of COVID mitigation plans in place. So we had to track with a lot of your help, a lot of our team reps help and coaches help, what your school's decisions were going to be. We started that back in July, and Dave Kurtz developed a great Google sheet that we shared with commissioners and everybody, and we were updating that daily, and trying to get a sense for where we were going to be. And that's something that we probably are going to continue to do moving forward into the fall, because, we'll have different states rolling out at different times for next year as well. We just need to get a good read of where we're going to be from a membership perspective. Certainly the spring semester provided a lot of hope for a lot of us as the fall, we had a handful of schools competing, that was it. But the hope for us was, let's get through Christmas. A lot of the colleges at Thanksgiving sent their students home, and they were home and not coming back to college until the new year. So we were hoping that, certainly the spring semester would be a little different for us and have more membership participating and so forth. So we tracked a lot of that. And we made some decisions. We needed to have some drop dead dates to announce to our membership of when we were going to be able to determine if having a national championship for each division was not only financially sound to do, but even logistically possible. And, as you know, we made a decision that by the end of January, we would make that decision based on membership numbers and how many teams were competing. And that's thankfully, we felt for 4 of our 5 divisions that we had enough teams competing. The teams that were competing had regulations and restrictions on them that would not necessarily hurt having a national tournament. Meaning that we would have enough teams be able to accept the invitation if they qualified for the national tournament. So obviously we thankfully got through that piece. With that in mind, we also extended the season 3 weeks. That was pretty much a no-brainer decision for all of us. However, we needed to be sensitive to everybody in terms of your student athletes. You may have student athletes that play hockey in the winter, but maybe they play baseball in the spring. So we kind of had to take a big picture look at that and see how many schools and memberships that affected. You had spring break dates, you had exams and so forth. By pushing the season back 3 weeks, it affects a lot of things, as you all know. But those were certainly, decisions that we needed to look at and needed to make. It's what's great about the ACHA. We have 5 divisions, we have 5 different sets of operating policies, one per division. And in these types of cases, that's where it gets really difficult sometimes, to try and align all 5 divisions. But again, that's the beauty of the ACHA, that we are unique. And, from a prospective student athlete standpoint, you can find a place to play college hockey that's a good fit for you. So that was an interesting exercise that we all went through, and we got a lot of input from membership on that, and we thank you. At that point, we obviously needed to not go to Boston and put all 72 teams under not only one location, but under one roof. That was not going to fly, obviously. So once decisions were made to have 4 divisions be able to have a tournament, we needed to find some sites. So we put out some proposals. We put a lot of the financial risk on the hosts because, again, of our financial situation. We got we received some proposals, and we're grateful for those hosts that did that. There was a lot of work that went into it for them, and we were grateful that the hosts saw the value in the ACHA, gave us a plan that would work for us within our realm of things, including making sure that we would have COVID mitigation plans in place, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of how that came about. Obviously, Maryville University at the St. Louis hosted our Division I tournament. I'd like to thank them and their staff. University of Mary and the city of Bismarck and Mandan hosted men's Division II championships. Thank you for that group. With men's Division III hosted up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the MCHC stepped up and worked with our staff in the Patterson Ice Center to host the M3 division, the M3 championships. So we're grateful for that group, and certainly up in Minot with Visit Minot State hosting the women's Division I tournament. So we're grateful for them as well. Really, once we established where we were going to be for our national tournaments, the most of my job became updating my knowledge with the COVID mitigation plans, and then working with regional or local health providers at those locations to make sure that we had a strong, solid COVID mitigation plan in place, obviously to keep our student athletes safe and our coaches safe and so forth. The schools that permitted the teams to accept an invite to the national tournament, certainly had standards that we needed to account for. And the hosts that I just mentioned, the 4 hosts I just mentioned, were fantastic in working with our office to make sure we had mitigation plans in place. So as you may have seen, each division had different ways of doing it. We had, Missouri was a little different than North Dakota, which was a little different from Michigan. So keeping that up to date and getting a plan in place, and then, following it for the next couple of weeks to see what changes the state might be making and so forth, is a good exercise to go through for any type of administrator. And again, I have down here the resilience of our student athletes, just again, fantastic. And our coaches with everything that you went through this year, and right up to the point to the last game that you played. I mean, we were able to give, a good handful of our membership an experience this year. And once again, a lot of our membership were unable to play this year. And that's why, we followed the NCAA ruling and saw what they did by providing student athletes that were attending their member schools with an extra year of eligibility. So we looked at it from our standpoint and certainly wanted to take the worry out of some of our student athletes during that fall semester to say, hey, if I play this year, we only play 3 games, do I burn a year of eligibility? Because maybe I'll just stay home and not play this year because I want a full season. So we wanted to come out as we did in November and said that, everybody's going to get an extra year of eligibility, regardless if they, if they were part of a school, an ACHA team this year, if they played or not, if they played 3 games or 40 games or 0 games. If they choose and they follow, the credits and the eligibility rules. I think Dave's going to touch on that in his presentation, but we wanted to make sure that they weren't making a decision, based on a woulda, coulda, shoulda. And if their team was able to play this year, we wanted them to play and compete, knowing that even though they never got a full season, the ACHA wanted to give our student athletes an extra year so they can enjoy a full season of hockey. If you don't mind changing to the next slide, Dave, we did a lot of planning. This past year was our 30th season in the ACHA. So last summer, this is just a snapshot. It's actually my computer there. Last summer, we had some fun and reached out to a lot of the founding fathers of the ACHA, and we were doing some plans to roll out, the 30-year anniversary and different segments. And man, oh man, do we have some good stories. If you can see some of the names on this right here, on this slide, but anytime you get, Coach Murdoch and Coach McCarthy and Coach Batista and Marshall Stevenson in a room and many others, we had some great stories, and our plan was to roll it out throughout the season and celebrate it. And as you can tell, with the staff furloughs and the financials and everything going on in the COVID, we just did not get to it. But we are working right now to be creative going into next season and making sure that it's important for us to celebrate our past and the remarkable history of the ACHA. So we're working on plans to, maybe celebrate the 30-year during the 31st year type of thing. But we have some plans to celebrate. It did not go intentionally off the radar. We just needed to put our priorities in shape and wanted to try and make sure we survived and had a season of some sort for our student athletes. So we look forward to the 21-22 season, where we can celebrate the 31st season. Membership, registration and so forth. I just threw some numbers up here and I can talk to these. We projected this year that our membership would have been about 467 teams. In the fall season, we had 24 teams that competed. As we said that, we were tracking quite a bit and working with our commissioners, our league commissioners and our teams. There was 24 teams that competed in the fall. So it did not look very promising. We had 8 men's Division I teams compete in the fall, 11 at men's Division II, 1 at men's Division III, 2 at women's Division I, and 2 at women's Division II. So come springtime, as we started tracking for the spring, we were hopeful. And the 96 number there is how many teams actually competed this spring. So we were grateful for that. That 96 is approximately 20% of our membership competed this year. So at the end of the day, we had 28 men's Division I teams compete in the spring, 34 at men's Division II, 20 at men's Division III, 10 at women's Division I, and 4 teams compete at the women's Division II level. So again, keep in mind, that's about 360 plus teams, 750 players or so that, again, trained, worked hard, and yet never had a chance to lace them up this season. So again, we're all looking forward to 2021-22 season. Everybody hopefully will be on a clean slate moving forward. The 46 number there is the amount of teams that participated in the 4 divisions during the national championships. And we played a total of 69 games and we got them all in. So again, we're very grateful for that. I feel like that was some success there as well. On the next slide, it might be hard to see, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is on the far right column. That would be, in the perfect world, what we've been more used to. The blue number is the total teams. So as you look from left to right, on the far left is men's Division I. Okay, so the blue graph there, the blue line going up is traditionally how many teams we were expecting to have. Same with the blue line. The next one over is men's Division II, followed by men's Division III, women's I, and women's II. The silver line, so when you look at, if you're looking at the far left one at men's Division I, we just talked about the blue graph there. The orange one is how many teams competed in the fall. The silver or gray one is how many teams played in the spring. So you can see how much of our membership, if you look at men's Division II, obviously it's our largest division, and you look at that silver graph, that silver bar, you can see that there was about 20% of our membership at the men's Division II level competed this year. That was it, and so forth as you go across. The yellow graphic there it represents the number of teams per division that paid full dues this year. So now we start to get into the financial piece here a little bit. In the blue graph, the bar beside the yellow or gold one, that little blue one is the amount of teams that made a sustaining dues payment and or USA Hockey dues payment this year. They didn't pay full dues, probably because they weren't permitted to play, but they were permitted to practice. Or they just paid sustaining dues because they wanted to be in good standing moving forward. So it's just an example there of we're very grateful, for those teams that paid, and we had teams that paid and did play, but we also had teams that paid and didn't play this year. And, in fact, we had 53 teams, 53 total teams. So that gold number, that gold bar on the far right, we had 53 teams that paid sustaining dues. And why is that significant? Because our operating budget was again, a shoestring budget. We had our staff furloughed, and those teams that chose to pay the sustaining dues or paid full dues or paid any type of dues really helped us get through this season. For those teams that paid some sort of dues, again, we all thank you, certainly the 96 teams that competed during the season. Thank you, because we had some money coming in to be able to operate and so forth, and certainly the 46 teams that went to the national championship events, thank you. Our goal right now, the ACHA is already working on a plan to credit those schools. The annual dues, if that's what you paid and you didn't play this year, or the sustaining dues, the teams that paid sustaining dues. Our goal is to credit that back to your program over the next year, maybe two, but at the end, at least by the end of the second year, we want to make everybody whole, okay? Because we do have teams that didn't pay anything this year because they never competed, and that's fine. Our bylaws don't require a payment, but the teams that did pay and didn't play, teams that did pay, we want to make sure that we make them whole. They're the ones that helped us get through this season. And I think you understand what I'm saying, but again, hats off to those teams that were able to do so, were able to make payments with the annual dues. And we have meetings here mid-May. I'm having meetings with Jim Martin and with Paul Hebert and a couple of board members to go through that, to track everything, make sure we know exactly where we are with our membership, and again, have a plan in place here in the next year or two to be giving credits back. And we'll contact you early summer, so if this is one of your teams, you'll know what your credit you're going to be getting toward next year's annual dues. So again, our plan is to make it whole for everybody back on a clean slate. And appreciate your patience as we go through that exercise. ACHA, next slide, please, Dave. The marketing piece, I just wanted to thank our sponsors this year. Again, during the pandemic, we had so many sponsors that continued to support the ACHA, and Barron Championship Rings are obviously, a partner with us for a long time and supply many of our conference champions and national champions with their rings. Budget Car Rental has been there now for a couple of years. Jog Athletics has been fantastic. Came aboard last year. They had a great setup in St. Louis at Nationals, but they do a great job with all their support of the ACHA, including supporting the Blackhawks Cup. That's the high school college showcase coming up later on this month in May in Chicago. I believe right now we have 45 men's teams attending that and 24 women's teams attending that. And this is the second year of us working with the Blackhawks on the Jog Athletics showcase. Southwest Airlines, not many of us were able to fly this year, but they were very supportive of us in the past. Sparks skate sharpening. If you're in the off season and you're looking to buy a skate sharpener, start there, talk to them, and see if that's something that fits. They're a brand new partner of ours for the past year. Howie's Hockey Tape has been around for a long time, supporters of the ACHA. Certainly appreciating them donating the pucks to us this year at the national championships. Warrior Hockey's been fantastic, and a lot of our teams, again, this year, we're using their sticks and buying equipment from them, and those people at Warrior do a great job in terms of customer service. UXO Sports, for those of you that might have attended the national tournaments, that they're our new ACHA merchandise provider. They were in person at all 4 locations for the national tournament. They have a store, a customized store for the ACHA, and we'll be sending out more information on there. You could customize all kinds of apparel through UXO Sports. And certainly our partners we work with, the American Hockey Coaches Association. We normally would be there with them right now in Naples, but we're very fortunate and proud to be part of the American Hockey Coaches Association. Many of our coaches are members. USA Hockey, obviously, supporting us and us working with them on other different projects as well. And then this year, Hockey TV, we moved, because of the situation, we moved our broadcast into Hockey TV this year. We heard our membership loud and clear 2 years ago, the last time we were in Naples, that we needed to show some type of revenue coming in on the broadcasting budget. Making a move here to Hockey TV gives us a platform that many minor pro league teams use, many junior leagues use, lots of Bantam and midget hockey use, but Hockey TV gave us that platform to broadcast our national championship games, all of them at all locations. Our expense fit in with our shoestring budget, and we'll have a revenue line coming in for us, and we'll share that. Hopefully Jim will have those numbers by the time he presents at the end of the month. So as we prepare for next year, I'd like to introduce our logo for the 2022 National Championships that will be held in St. Louis, March 10th through the 20th. We announced that about a year ago. It was nice having Maryville University be hosting our M1 this year, because it gave us a good test run in the St. Louis area. St. Louis, as we explained before, approached us with the St. Louis Sports Commission, and the St. Louis Blues supported this to bring the tournament to their location. The Centene Community Ice Center, as well as the Maryville University Hockey Center, will be where we will be located next year, and we're looking forward to it. So there's our logo. We'll have a presser going out on that. Funny story real quick. I know it's a serious report here. Funny story real quick, but as you can see the arch there, the first logo I saw with the arch was a gold arch, and I thought it was really cool. It stood out, it certainly signified the great arch in St. Louis and the whole thing. And then the next picture I saw was the McDonald's golden arches, the logo for McDonald's. And I can't look at this without thinking of a Big Mac right now if that was still a gold arch. But going to a silver or gray arch is much better. So anyhow, thank you for that slide. My goals for next year. Always hopefully you've seen me working on this with our staff working on communication. Customer service is number one. We need to be available. We need to be reaching out. We need to be communicating with our membership. The registration, coming out of a COVID situation, our registration process, it seems like it's getting a lot better. I think in my short time here, this is going to be year 3 for me. It seems to be streamlining pretty good, but we're always going to hit some bumps in the roads. Dave Kurtz will be talking a little bit about that, as he spent some time with USA Hockey on the phone this past week regarding the registration process. One of the things I like to try and implement, hopefully it will get implemented this year, is I want to create a leadership mentorship program for our student athletes, in which every ACHA team will have representation on. Very similar, if you're familiar with the NCAA side of things, very similar with the SAC, Student Athlete Advisory type committee. But this is more, there's some programming available right now with the NHL Coaches Association, with USA Hockey, and one or two other areas where there's a lot of leadership type programs there. So we want to communicate with our students, our student athletes, get them involved in this. It may be a captain, it may be a team president. You know, we'll have those details. We'll share with our membership, with our coaches and team reps and so forth, and start to have this this mentorship program. A couple of the people or companies that we've been talking to are also talking about providing some financial assistance there to set up some scholarship, graduate school scholarship money. So I think it's a well-worthy cause to look at. So you can look for some information regarding that here by early summer. Our move to league stats after the fall was necessary. We left Point Streak, as everybody knows. Point Streak became a little bit antiquated. Customer service wasn't great, and they know that because they've been bought two different times in the last 3 years. They were kind of easing Point Streak out and enhancing the new company that bought them, enhancing their own products. So we started the year, for those of you that might not know, we started the year as a guinea pig with I think a good scoring system that USA Hockey was developing. But as we got going, it wasn't quite ready for us yet. So we needed to make a move. We needed to at least give our membership at least where we were with Point Streak. And I feel like we have that with League Stats by Hockey Tech and so much more. The American Hockey League uses League Stats. The East Coast Hockey League uses League Stats. The USHL, the North American League. It's a really neat League Stats program for our scoring and so forth. They have a lot of tools that we didn't even touch on this year. So we're going to be going through some learning on that this spring and summer and roll that out to our membership. So your people, your broadcasters, your sports information directors, and et cetera, even the coaches from a scouting perspective will have tools that are far more enhanced than we've ever had. I mentioned implementing, working obviously with our board and especially Jim Martin. We want to have a financial recovery plan in place here. One, to make our teams that supported us financially this year whole, but also two, to get back to where we were before COVID hit. It could take a couple of years here because we're not sure exactly how many teams are going to be permitted to play this coming season. So the schools will make those decisions. We'll continue to track, and hopefully we'll be back up to that 460, 470 number for 21-22. And we want to continue supporting the growth of hockey. Again, as I mentioned earlier with the mentorship program, there's a lot of opportunities now to grow the game of hockey, and the ACHA has been called upon, to be in those discussions. College Hockey Inc. called me the other day regarding some more growth. The NHL is always about growth. That's, why we get the opportunity to be on the NHL network prior to our national championships, to talk about the ACHA, and certainly USA Hockey's mission is all about growth, and we're part of USA Hockey. So, any opportunities that we have, we're starting to do that and continue to do that with the college hockey or high school prospect showcases. We work with the Anaheim Ducks this year. We worked with the Chicago Blackhawks. We work with the Washington Capitals. We're starting to work with Columbus as well. So, those are goals that we have moving forward. So just before, just a quick reminder. So at the end of May, Jim Martin will have his financial report. at the end of May. Why is it the end of May and not right now? Because we're still catching up on expenses and bills from the national tournament and the season. And we need to get our ducks in a row and map out the situation with annual dues and how we're going to make that whole. So by the end of May, Jim will have that report and certainly can answer the specific questions on that. Dave, before I pass this over to you, and I thank everybody, certainly all the teams and student athletes, but if you don't mind, I just have one more thing here I wanted to share. If you don't mind, if you can allow me to share my screen, I appreciate it. Bear with me 1 second here. Do this one more time to make sure I got the right screen up. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see this here. Just gonna skip down to where I was. I have one announcement to make here on behalf of the board of directors. As you know, each year, typically we have several awards that we announce at the banquet and so forth. One of the awards is the Don Spencer Award, and the Don Spencer Award is for volunteer service. Is named for one of our founding members. This is about Don Spencer, but this is awarded to somebody that goes above and beyond, and each year. And going through the list, if you haven't seen our website, Dave Kurtz has worked a lot on the website. There's a lot of history now under the About Us category on the website. But I'm very honored on behalf of the board of directors to be able to make this announcement on the end of year report for this year. And before I hand this over to Dave Kurtz, I'd like to congratulate this year's Don Spencer Award winner to Dave Kurtz. Dave has been a rock for all of us. You might not even know it, what he does behind the scenes with hockey operations, but you know, for a staff that was furloughed, and you know, somebody to be there for our commissioners and to be working with me, probably speaks enough about that. But you know, we met a couple times a week. We talked almost every day. You know, Dave is a true ACHA person. I've learned in my short 3 years here, but I just would like to congratulate Dave Kurtz on the recipient of the Don Spencer Award for 2021. So I'm going to pass this back over to you now, Dave. Congratulations.
Well, thank you guys. And on behalf of the ACHA, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So now I'm supposed to, I know, surprise. Yeah. Well, it's normally one, but thank you so much. I guess I'll talk about it down the road a little bit more, but that is an honor, and a lot of the names that you see on the Don Spencer Award are some of the great people of the ACHA that have helped build it to where it is, and several of those people were on that picture that you had of the 30-year thing. But I know we don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I'm going to just close out. Hey guys, I just want to let you know that for some reason the Zoom cut off our recording after Craig's report, so I'm going to do my report now. In the end, if you were there live on Sunday, you know that we really didn't have any questions outside of just when we would be able to start using the 2022 National Championship logo, which is information we'll give out to you as we release it. As always, if you have something you need to get in touch with me about, please feel free to email me about it. but I'm going to jump into my report. I'm just going to give it again, and so we can attach it to the beginning video, but that's why it'll look a little bit different than the video that happened during Craig's report. So let me jump over and open up my report, and I'll go through it again. Okay, great. All right, so this is the hockey operations report for this past year. I just want to let you know, as what Craig had said on Sunday, these are the teams that were there. This was pulled directly off our portal. As you can see, the breakdown of how many teams were registered on the portal. And then for the 97 teams that I had playing were teams that had a registered game in our website in the scoring system. So that's how many teams were there, and that's how many teams were playing. Obviously, for the most part, the numbers are pretty much the same. We did have some teams that registered that were either unable to play or wanted to register in order to provide insurance for their players, maybe possibly for them playing in men's leagues or just playing pick, stick, and puck, whatever it is. That's what they did. Just some rehashing of some of the goals that we had for this year's registration. We continued to work with USA Hockey to refine the registration and claiming process. We headed out to Colorado Springs for a couple days to go over to really break into the registration and the portal to try to provide a better opportunity for you as the consumer, as the membership, to try to provide a easier path. And I think we started to create that. Also, we moved over to where all background checks were not required through the USA Hockey vendor. You know that not this past season, but the season before, we had allowed some background checks that from maybe an employer or from the school, but that got into all of the issues of whether or not the background checks were met the depth or the focus that USA Hockey wanted, and it was kind of getting more and more crazy. And what happened was basically that they had come to USA Hockey had come to an agreement with the vendor to provide background checks for everybody. One of the advantages of this now is, and something that we knew was a pain point for a lot of people, was that the cost of a background check through NCSI would vary depending on where you were located at. So you might pay a minimal amount if you lived in one state, but if you lived in another state, like New York, for example, there were all these additional fees, well over $100 that you had to pay because of how they did the background checks for the various areas in the state of New York. So what we did was, what USA Hockey was able to negotiate was basically that NCS would give a flat rate for background checks no matter where you're at. So if there was more, that was not going to be something that was going to come on to you. The only time that there would be some additional cost to the person putting it in would be if they had multiple addresses or lived in multiple states in a short amount of time. I'm not exactly sure what that number is, but I know it was like, so say you lived in 3 or 4 different places within a 2-year period, there might be some additional cost because that's a lot of tracking down that they have to do. But for the majority of the people, it'll be one rate, one low fee, and that's it. The other side that we looked at we knew that when the pandemic really started to make adjustments on getting your CEP, your coach's education issue, and they provided online classes for it. And temp cards, you could pay to basically have a good a year that was valid, even without having to increase your level. And that allowed us to have compliance. The great thing about the online classes was that, unlike an in-person class that has to be in a region or an area that you can go to, those online classes you could take anywhere. So if you lived in Maryland, you could take one that was being based out of Colorado. Maybe that time was better for you. I do not know what USA Hockey's plan is yet for that, how much they're going to try to move back into in-person classes versus online. Are they going to take that away? Are they going to continue to do online? We'll continue to talk to USA Hockey and get you that information. But we do want to let you know that have been offered, and we hopefully will be offered again in the future. Along with that, reminder that everything will become due this year. So one of the great things that USA Hockey has added to this registration for everybody, not just ACHA, but for everybody, is that every player and coach will have a individual homepage when they log in. We're calling it the HQ right now. I don't know if that'll stay, but basically what that's going to do is when you log in, it's going to go and it's going to have all your information in it. And this for coaches or for GMs, team reps, whoever's doing the registration, this is going to allow you to be able to switch between the areas while staying on the same site. So when you go in, you'll be able to go and say, help get your team registered or declared, send out stuff. Then you can actually go into the same page and click on another button that will take you into the claiming area. So instead of you having to remember 2 passwords or 2 site names, it'll all be there. For coaches, the page will also show your current status for your coach's education, your background, and your safe sport, including the expiration dates. If you remember, coach's education is a constant year thing. So whether you're moving up the levels or you're doing modules to continue, there's something that you need to do every year. So if you have not done that, as we head into the summer and then toward the fall, something has to be done. Background checks are every 2 years. And so if you had your background check done this past season, then you're good for a year. But a lot of people, probably the vast majority of the ACHA coaching staff, did it 2 years ago when we first implemented it. And so that's coming up again. So you need to start thinking about doing that. And Safe Sport's done every year. Now, the new year is involved for USA Hockey. So you can hit that right now if you want. In fact, I highly encourage you get these 3 things done now, and then you don't have to worry about when the season has. The great thing about the HQ page for you is that you'll be able to see exactly when you pull it up as a coach. This is what I've got. This is how long it lasts. If it's green, great. If it's red, bad. Simple as that. And you'll know exactly what you need to do in order to get your name, be able to be claimed into the portal, unless your team will be approved because they have an approved coach. Also, all coaching historical data and players' historical data for team associations will be available on this page. So it will not have your stats if you're a player, but it will have every team that you've been involved with USA Hockey. So midget or bantam, travel, college, junior, whatever it is, it'll have a listing of that. So it's a great way for you to be able to see kind of the track you throughout your career and your time in USA Hockey. Also, we want to refine the information. When players register in the fall, the goal is going to be able to capture all the information that will allow us to have all the fields in the scoring system filled. If you notice, if you go to our website, there are some teams that have more information across the board, like height, weight, shooting, that kind of thing. In there, if you pop open their roster and their names and their players and their coaches, it's more complete than others. And what that comes down to is that somebody, whether it was the commissioner or the coach or whoever, entered that information after it was dumped in because it was information that we did not have from the export from USA Hockey. So what we're going to do is work with making sure that the information that makes the website look more complete and gives more information for any media publications like the Nationals program to be able to have that complete information there. So that means that we're going to ask for, like, say, height and weight and shooting and things like that. And we're going to say, hey, please make sure you put this in so that when we do the dump from USA Hockey into the scoring system, it'll all populate into what we need. And then when it gets put up onto the site, then it's all looks complete, looks better, looks more professional. So that's going to be something that you don't have to worry about because we're going to be taking care of that on the front end, but it'll make us look much better on the back end when we look at the website. The main focus for myself looking forward into 21-22 registration is making sure that when we hit August and we really start ramping stuff up in your world, that we have as best we can up-to-date list of emails for the person in charge of the declaration and the registration process. So coach, GM, team rep, someone in the school, club sports, whatever it is, we want to make sure we have as best we possibly can, because that is the biggest thing that drags upon you getting your stuff done, is not knowing where to send email. And especially with a year where 80% of our teams didn't really exist, there can be a lot of turnover that we did not get a hold of, that was not kind of in the process. Oh, we're coming to the end of the season. Hey, I want to let you know that I'm retiring and we were moving on and this is the new coach, or they're going to be looking for one. Here's who you send it to. we want to make sure that we're aggressive in trying to get as much information as we can over the summer and up to date as possible, so that we can make sure that when we hit the ground running in the fall, that everybody, for the most part, will get their stuff right off the bat and they can start on that process of declaration and registration. Looking at our website over the past year, as many of you know, when we ended with Point Streak and we moved over to Integrass, that was a site that was built. So unlike, it was not a template in the terms of like a Point Streak or a Sports Engine. We built the site from the ground up. So there was definitely a learning curve for those that were handling the site. Throughout the year, we made several changes to try to tailor it to our needs. I think what we would call the 1.5 version was what we used for the Nationals tournament site. So if you were to go up and pull up achahockey.org and then achahockey.org/national tournament, you would see that the template, the bones are a lot the same, but there's a lot of changes that we made visually to it and moving through it that we hope made it a lot better. The hope is, as we move forward, is that we take what we liked from 1.5, the things that you see, and applying that to the website that we have in the fall, and then continue to make it better. We want to continue to look to integrate items that worked out on the attorney site that we really liked and bring them onto our main site. The biggest one is I really liked the ability when we were at the Nationals, that there was a news feed at the bottom that was division specific. So when we put in articles or updates or whatever into that, we could designate, hey, this is something I'm going to do with men's Division 1. I want it to go into the men's Division 1. And so instead of it just being 3 or 4 of the most recent news items that just kind of get dumped down as they go, as we put them in, this one's going to go there, this one will go there. And so it allows us to really highlight the 5 divisions much better in terms of the information that they want to get out there. And it doesn't get buried, especially if it's a big day. Let's say we have 4 or 5 articles we put out. If it's spread across the divisions, we post it up there, everybody gets represented. So also we want to begin to integrate information and connections to league sites as leagues come back from COVID and they start going in. We want to be able to continue to direct people who come to the large down to the small. So we want to make sure that if a person comes and they find out, hey, there's a team like Stevenson who has a men's Division 2 team and they're in the mock, we want to say, okay, you come here, you find out Stevenson, you can find out, okay, they're in the mock. So what's the mock? Then they go in, they can see all the team to that site, then get closer information, and then find out something about Stevenson probably at that one in relation to their league and things like that. So big to small, and continue to streamline to get from your front page to where you want to go. We want to make it so that the drop downs are as intuitive and as specific as we possibly can make them. So if you're looking for a certain information, you don't have to click to get to it as much best we can to try to make it as streamlined as possible, because that's what we want people to do. We want we want your fans, we want your players to be able to get to where they want to go. And so they want to spend time on the website and continue to make it better for you guys. So 2021 eligibility, this year we waived GPA for both semesters. So years of eligibility will not be counted for student athletes in the 2021 season. We came to that, decision about in December or so, or December, January, just because with looking what NCAA was doing, kind of looking at what was happening with schools, we wanted to try to give that ability. Also, this year, student athletes only had to maintain a credit total on credits passed in order to be eligible to play. So that portion of the eligibility form remained for teams that were in competition. And so that continued. So we wanted to make sure players that were actually attending the schools were the ones that were playing, but everything else was waived. So for 21-22, all eligibility requirements will return in the fall. So credits, GPA, number of years of eligibility, all that stuff will come in. If your school has a unique format, let's say they're still using pass-fail or some other kind of thing in the spring, it is your responsibility to inform your commissioner prior to the start of the season so that a course of action can be put into place. Simply put, guys, look, we want you guys to play. We want to help you. We know that schools are doing super unique things and stuff that is different because of COVID, but we can't contact 400 schools and have a conversation to find out what they did in the spring. It's your responsibility as the team representative or the coach, GM, whatever, to look at to talk to your teams, find out how their grades were in terms of formulating, find out if GPAs were calculated, all this kind of stuff, and then reach out to your commissioner and say, hey, I'm with this team. This is what we did. We need to talk. And please, I cannot stress this enough. Informing your commissioner 2 days before your first game or the day after you send your eligibility form in September does not help us. If you know this, you have the entire summer. Work with us. It lets your commissioner know, hey, this is what they've been doing, so that we have a summer to work it out. So when you return in the fall and you send us the eligibility form, we already know what's going on. The commissioners already have a note in their book that says, hey, this team is going to have something unique, then this is how we dealt with it. Help us help you. And the biggest thing is giving us time, because we have to discuss and figure out to try to find a way to help you, but by being fair to everybody else as well. Who does and does not get an extra year of eligibility? So yes, it's pretty simple. Players who played this past year, extra year of eligibility. Players who did not play this last year and their teams did not, their extra year of eligibility. Players who did not play last season and their teams did play. Maybe they just didn't feel comfortable with COVID and things like that. Yes, they get an extra year. The three people that don't are freshmen that enter your school in 21-22. So if a player was in high school last year, he doesn't get an extra year of eligibility this year, starting this year. So he starts with his normal year. Students who have played in 5 ACHA postseasons. So you can play in the regular season because you've earned that, you have that extra year of eligibility, but you're only allowed to play in 5 ACHA postseasons. So if that's it, their season ends at the end of the regular year. And students whose 5 years of eligibility were completed during the 1920 season or earlier. So you cannot bring a player back who played 5 years between 2013 and 2018 and come back and say, hey, can I get a free year of eligibility? The eligibility was used, they finished, they can't come back. All right. If you have any questions about that, please make sure that you reach out to myself or your commissioner during the summer. Do not wait until a week before your games are supposed to start to find out whether the guy that's skating with you is eligible to play this year. So that's about it for me. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me at dkurtz@achahockey.org. But thanks for your time. And again, hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.